is Harvard educated and former CNN and Fox News producer, and now on camera media strategist, Jamie Maglietta. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, so good to meet you in person online.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jamie.
Yeah, it's really good to be here. Brian and I connected a while back on LinkedIn, so I'm really glad we can make this work.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a pleasure to have you on. And yeah, your background is incredibly impressive. But yeah, let me just make sure everybody knows what show they're on. Coder Conversations, coderconvos.com. But yeah, just to get things kicked off, yeah. So you got your education at Harvard, and you've worked at big prestigious companies at CNN and Fox News. You mind giving us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. I'll just date you back till when I was in high school. I grew up in a small town and we had like a local TV news station. So we would put together a morning show and it really exposed me to all the possibilities of production at such a young age. Where now so many kids, they have their cell phones and they know how to shoot videos and write probably scripts in when they're in high school. We had a class focused on that. So that was the introduction to it all for me. And when I was in college at Northeastern in Boston at the time, I started working in television news locally, NECN, WBZ in Boston, for anyone who's familiar. And then from there, I got recruited to MSNBC. I was there for a little bit before I became a reporter, print in New Jersey. And then from there, I went to Fox News Channel. I was named a producer only a few months there. So it was a really nice
Wow.
at the time. And when I was at Fox News Channel, I would appear on foxnews.com as either a lifestyle contributor or on their live show at the time. And that gave me some really great flexibility to my production schedule because I was able to visualize what it was like on camera and behind the scenes. So I could help people in more ways. And it was nice to be more well-rounded versus flexible. Then I went to CNN. And at CNN, I was there for nearly 12 years. And I worked on a lot of new shows. I felt like I was launching shows constantly in the beginning. And I went over to CNNI and did something very similar, was working on shows. And I ended at CNN at Reliable Sources. I do still freelance there, but in a very small capacity and not on shows anymore. And
Okay.
I went to BET after that. And I left BET in the beginning of 2024. And I started to dabble with more podcasting, social media, and helping professionals. So that's a little bit of my background.
Awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, you've worked at some of the biggest media companies out there, and these are jobs that people envy. Like, how exactly did you get your foot in the door to be able to work at these companies?
Well, I really do believe that the more you do in college, internships, networking, it really does help you get that first job. And that first job is really what helped me get the rest. That first job was
Right.
at MSNBC. So I was already at 24-hour news right out of college. And that really did help open the doors to Fox News Channel and then Fox to CNN.
So, you being a producer, did you intentionally choose to kind of be more behind the scenes, or is that just kind of how things progress and develop? Like, would you prefer to be in front of the camera, or?
Yeah, I mean, when I was in high school, I performed on stages. I sang opera actually, which is,
Oh, wow.
like I was classically trained and I wanted to go to school to become an opera singer. That's what I thought I wanted.
Wow.
But
Interesting.
the more I was on stage my senior year of high school, I started to realize there's a lot of downside to always having to be on camera. And that little taste I had then just made me rethink things. And I went down more of a science route. Um, I went to Africa this summer before college. I had this scholarship to study science. So I was like, oh, this is maybe this could be what I want to do, archaeology or science. But really, when it came down to it, I knew I wanted to be creating content. I knew I wanted to be on the research side and the writing side. And I knew all that from that trip after high school, right before college. So that's when I committed to journalism versus being in front of the camera. I saw a path behind the scenes, and I thought I would go into print, to be honest. But then everything just started to push me to be with more visual mediums. And so it really just organically happened. I wound up on camera a bit, as I said, at Fox, and then I did some travel insider pieces for CNN where I was on camera. But yeah, I mean, I always thought I would be behind the scenes once I got to my 20s. I never saw myself going back in front of the camera. But now, as an entrepreneur, I feel like you need to be in front of the lens in order to get your message out there, build your brand.
Yeah.
And it's really become almost like a full circle. I'm doing what I didn't plan on doing, but I knew I kind of could do what I really wanted to.
Yeah, that's kind of like me and Kev. You know, I'm a musician, I'm a drummer primarily, but he asked me to come on one night and I really liked it, you know, and it
Yeah.
just, we gelled, we had good synergy, and you know, it's been a wrap from there. We've been doing like two episodes a week, 3 episodes a week for past almost 2 years.
That's a good commitment, guys.
Yeah.
Not many people get past 10 episodes in the podcasting space. Some they start to fall short after 6. And, you know, to say that you've been doing it for 2 years that consistently, I mean, that's huge. Congratulations, guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, I think we got over 400 videos up now, so been hammering it out.
Awesome.
That ought to do it. Yeah, that ought to do it.
But yeah, I think you brought up a very important point is like in this modern age, especially as an entrepreneur, we have an amazing opportunity to advertise ourselves without having to put out, spend a ton of money, and building a personal brand is at like the heart of that. Like if people trust you, they know you, then they're more likely to buy whatever it is you're selling without you having to pitch it to them.
And yeah, and with AI, it's more now than ever. It's important for you to show your face on camera and to put yourself out there so people know it's you that they're
That's
following
real.
for. It's real.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanted
To
to.
that point, you know, I think so many years ago, none of us thought we would all be on camera. Remember during COVID, it was like, oh, we need lights and mics, and no one really knew what to do. And since then, we've all really grown from there, right? It's like everyone now wants their piece of YouTube. I say, you know, everyone's trying to stake their land claims on YouTube and online now, but we still have professionals potentially even listening that don't feel comfortable on camera, don't feel comfortable under lights, but they know that they need to start putting themselves out there. And so they look to people like us for inspiration and guidance. So as you put yourselves out there more and more each week, always think that someone could be watching either of you guys, myself included, and feel inspired to start doing it themselves. And I think that that puts us in a really great leadership opportunity to help guide them and put them in, you know, the best positioning possible. And so I have a new podcast called Think Like a Producer, where I help people try to think in that mindset space of being a producer so that they can put themselves out there more strategically and effectively than just saying, all right, I'm turning on a mic.
Like more than the bedroom person, you know, they're just in their room.
Yeah.
They got their little mic, they
Mhm.
got their webcam, and they're recording stuff. And
Are you
then
describing yourself, Brian?
yeah. And then they upload it, and they don't
Yeah.
do audio mastering, no editing. They just put it up and expect, oh wow, like this is gonna blow up. But
Mhm.
what me and Kevin have realized is there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. Like I do all the booking, and that takes
Mhm.
up considerable amount of time.
Yeah.
Kevin does more of the technical stuff, the
Mhm.
editing, the audio mastering, thumbnails for YouTube. Like, so we kind of both have our strengths, and
Yeah.
that seems to work pretty well for us.
And I think that's a really good point to make, because so many people think they can go into it on their own, and then they get into it and they don't realize how hard it actually is, which is why they don't continue. And it's good that the two of you have one another, because even as someone who can crank out content, and I really can, since August, I think I have 60 episodes out on YouTube across across my 2 podcasts, plus tutorials on, you know, how to be a producer.
Wow.
And, you know, I'm cranking out all this content plus reels it's a lot of work. And I
Yeah.
really wish I had another one of me who could do most of it because it's draining. And if you haven't had the experience I've had where I'm pushing out a live news show every day, right? Where those deadlines have led me to be able to be a strong content creator, you're not you're gonna have those pitfalls and potentially struggle without a team or people or leniency toward, yourself and patience. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Having a partner to
Yeah.
help you is no just in creating content, it makes it 1,000 times easier unless you're just one of those people that just like to talk like me. That's why I needed a partner. I can't just sit in front of a camera and just talk for an hour straight. I
Yeah.
just feel like I'm talking to myself. So
Yeah, like a monologue or something.
Yeah. I mean, and you can, as I'm looking at myself right now, I'm like, wow, I'm really whited out. Like I need to adjust my lights and mics. And I wish I had help, right, to do all that for you. And you can hire people. I do that for clients where, okay, well, let's produce a YouTube channel video or let's do that. But it costs money and
yeah,
you can do it on your own if you just learn how to think like a producer and tweak things. But as I'm sitting here, that's all I'm thinking about. It's like, oh, I should have adjusted my lights more. Oh, I should have, done this or that. And you're always going to never, you're always going to show up not being completely perfect. And you just have to accept that. Because if you are showing up and you're constantly nitpicking, you're never going to do it. You just aren't. And you're going to stop or you won't even push the video out. So it's really good to know that there are so many people out there doing it, and not everyone is being completely perfect at it. But they are doing it, and that should be inspiring. And hopefully, if someone's hearing this, they're hearing and thinking, "Gosh, yeah, you're right. I should just do it because you should. Right now's the time."
Yeah, and if you can get a team put
Mhm.
together or a co-host, that's
Yeah,
gonna, like Kevin says, like a million times easier with that other person because like for us, okay, I could just focus on the booking. Kev
yeah,
is just, focus on the audio mastering and stuff like that.
mhm,
There's like a real synergy there between
yeah.
us. And if it were just me, I would feel overwhelmed. If it was just Kevin alone, he'd probably feel overwhelmed. Because Kev, you did do this alone for a little bit, right? At the beginning.
yeah, yeah. Like a short period where I had to do it by myself, and it's just a ton of
Yeah.
work, booking
Yeah.
people,
A
getting on
lot of work.
camera,
Yeah.
editing.
Like my one podcast I do as more of a monologue because I couldn't book guests for two podcasts. And the reason I did it was I was testing things out. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to go at this more strategically. And I started the podcast Unknown to Known, where I interview television guests, influencers, people who are in the media space. And we talk about new media and how to expand your brand and show up confidently on camera, learning from people who are on camera for a living or have made it and they're influencers on TikTok and they're doing it right now and they can share advice. But booking for that, Brian, I mean, sometimes guests don't show up or,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you're like, shoot. So I did batch recording for that when I went back at it. Like, okay, I got to record all these people and then launch. And that's a piece of
Yeah.
advice that, I don't think many people get where if you're going to have a podcast with guests, it might be better to sit down with people for a month or two, edit those videos and then launch. So you have some padding.
100%. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we do pretty well now with, like a low cancellation rate, but
Mhm.
as you mentioned, it does happen. And there's sometimes where me and Kev will just say, all right, let's just kind of chop it up and do our own show, our own segment. But a lot of times we'll just cancel it and say, oh, okay, it's a night off. So in general, it ends up working out for us, I would say.
Yeah. And on the monologue side, like as I was saying, if anyone's listening and they're thinking, well, I just want to talk, you have to talk a lot longer than you think, to fill an episode. And so many people don't realize that. They're like, oh, I got like a 6 to 8 minute script. But then when they say it, it's only 2 to 3, So I started to test out that whole monologue aspect where I was critiquing YouTube podcasts. And I'm going to go back to that. I took a break from the critiquing and analyzing, because it was a lot of work, as we were just saying. And I felt like maybe I couldn't commit to it on a regular basis enough to make it my baby. So I have unknown to known where I'll keep going. Maybe bi-weekly is what I'm thinking now with guests. And then the other one, more monologue style, I give tips. But an 8-minute script can get you to 12 minutes on camera sometimes. And that's what you want to aim for if you're focused on YouTube. And that's what a
Okay.
lot of people need to realize too. You need to be over 8 minutes. And so, just scripting and keeping that in mind and thinking like a producer will help you if you do want to do it on your own without guests. Yeah.
So at
So if you could
least,
dive
oh,
into
go
that,
ahead, Kev.
yeah, if you could dive into that a little more, why do they need to be over 8 minutes? Does YouTube give them a boost or
It's more of like the
what?
long-term monetization. It needs to be over a certain length. Plus, right now, clips do better than long form video on YouTube in the
Yeah,
podcasting, like I guess you can call like beginner stages. It's
Right.
almost better to have like a 5 to 8 minute clip from your long
exactly.
form than the whole 45 minutes on YouTube. Some people I do that. I put the whole 45, I put the whole episode up. But now that I've started to test clips, I find that the clips generate more views to my channel,
Yeah,
and then the episode gets more attention when it drops. So I'm doing like a
yeah,
clip ahead of the nearly hour-long conversation. Yeah.
yeah, we've definitely found the same, like shorts
Mhm.
and like mid-length clips, because I think if people don't know you, they don't want to invest an hour with
Yeah.
you. So you have to kind of give
Yeah.
them samplers and whet their palate, and then if they really like what they're seeing on the short form, then they might commit to the longer form.
And
So
let me add on the short form. So I was working with this one group and they had said that shorts, you know, they're not attracting the right audience. Now I disagree, because I've been playing shorts, testing them out with my channel on YouTube, and my numbers have been going up with shorts. Views go up obviously because they're short videos, but after a while, if you're posting consistently with those shorts plus your long form videos, and you build a strategy, growth is possible. You are going to attract the right people, because whoever's looking at those shorts, to your point, is getting a taste of who you are. Then they see your channel and they're like, okay, I'm going to subscribe. I had like, I don't know, it was a lot for me, but I think it was about 10 to 15 subscribers in one day. And I was like, what happened?
Wow.
And I think it was because the shorts at that time did really well that day.
yeah, no, definitely. Like even if it's a podcast, I know I see an hour something that's an hour long. I'm like, I don't really feel like watching
Mhm.
that.
It's a
But if
commitment.
it's like a 5 minute clip,
It's a
yeah,
commitment,
exactly.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm in the car, sure, but, if I if I'm sitting at my desk, I'm like you, I'm hesitant when I see that length.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to cater your content to the platform. Like,
Mhm.
okay, if they're riding in the car, Spotify, perfect, hour long, 30 minutes, hour long. They can listen to you while they're on work and your content is being pushed to them. But when they're on the computer, on their phone, they want little short bursts of
Mhm.
dopamine. So you have to give them something they can scroll through or interact with, like 5 to 8 minutes, because their attention span is not going to hold in
Yeah, and
general.
if anyone's listening who is a thought leader and trying to figure out, how do I turn my thought leadership into content? I want to have a YouTube channel and I also need social media. You can honestly focus just on YouTube right now and you'll probably do great. The shorts with the long form, you can connect the shorts to the long form videos to immediately get people to go there. The funnel is a lot clearer there than getting people from Instagram to YouTube. It is so hard to get someone from Instagram to YouTube.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, you have more luck, because you could do a little short video and have the link directly in your description on LinkedIn.
Right.
Or,
Right.
you could post a clip from your video with the link. There's always a link, but there isn't when it comes to Instagram. Like people have to take that next step.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah. So it's important to just think that through before you get started.
Yeah, for our process, we like to take the long form content and then run it through Opus clips. Like
Mhm.
with Opus clips, you
Yeah.
can generate 30 seconds to a minute clips, and also 5 to 10 minutes. So you could get all of these different links for these different
Mhm.
formats, and you do one long form content, and then you also have your shorts, and you also have your mid-length
Mhm.
content. So
And
I think it's
and it's
about just
all
building
stuff you
that.
gotta do if you wanna start a podcast. You can't just put it out there.
And Jamie, let me ask just for the listeners, what was your time like at Harvard when you went there?
So, Harvard was an incredible opportunity. I was accepted into the program before COVID, so most of the classes that I took were online, and I wasn't on campus for it, it was mostly online. But what I loved was their online program, the one I was in, we were in the back of the classroom, so those that were local and could get in were there, and then they set up, like, kind of a robot person in the back that had, like, a camera and someone next to it that had, and I felt like I was in the classroom. And some of the teachers went to this huge lengths and made like green screen classrooms. So they would be at home with a green screen and they'd have, videos and a cool podium. I thought the experience was great during that time. And the degree was business management, but I focused on strategy and marketing. So at the time, I felt like things were changing in media and I didn't know where it was going. And I saw myself actually going more toward, the media strategy side, but executive level within my company. I didn't see myself leaving at the time
Right.
when I started. But I'm really glad that I did take that approach because then when I did leave, I was able to get an incredible contract job at BET, and it was an executive role overseeing production, unscripted, working on documentaries, long form content. One of the shows was a huge budget show live on MTV, VH1, Vice President Kamala Harris, in front of a huge audience, Howard University. I mean, it was just I wouldn't have had those experiences had I not had the financial training that I had at Harvard to manage $1,000,000 budgets and to step into that role. Because when you have a producer in television news, they're not really managing big budgets. And when you have an unscripted producer that's more documentaries, reality TV, that producer, as a line producer, handles the budget. So when people ask me, "Oh, you're a producer, what does that mean?" It means something different for every area of the business. So a line producer in TV news is really setting up the lines of a show. But a line producer in unscripted, which I did at BET, you're in charge of the lines of the budget. So it's just two different types of line producers and line production. So I'm very thankful I got to do both. I don't think I would have gotten that second opportunity right when my show at CNN ended. I moved to BET like that week. I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't had that budgetary training. And I
Okay.
definitely thank Harvard for that.
Like, if you could, I ask this a lot, if you could go back in time
Mhm.
and meet yourself at, 15, 16, what advice would you give yourself to kind of help you navigate your future?
Hmm. Well, 15, 16, I was performing a lot at the time, singing, but I was also doing television news. So I guess I would have told her to not let the doubt seep in so much because so much of my career I would always think, well, do I really want to be on camera? Like I don't know how I'm going to look when I'm 40. I'm 40 now. Like it's not that bad. When I was younger, it was, well, can I really handle being on camera and having everyone, know what I'm doing and where I am in life and follow me and potentially take my picture at, a little diner if I'm with my family. And I was just thinking local news. I got kind of nervous about that. So doubt seeped in. And I would just tell people if you're in high school and you have those dreams of doing something, go after it and don't let doubt take over because you got to fail to really make it. And here I am on camera after talking myself out of not being on camera.
So yeah, I'd like to dive into some of those lessons you learned at Harvard about managing the budget, like
Yeah.
doing that for traditional media at a big company like BET. I'm sure that has certain lessons, and also taking that to the more entrepreneurial level, like running a podcast. I'm sure there's a lot of similarities there, but also some differences. So could you expound on the similarities and then the differences between the two venues?
Yeah, I would say, I've done now budgets for podcast events, as well as show production, and then budgets for marketing branding events now since leaving. And I would say, the training that I had, it was very basic at Harvard, where we're learning financial like ways to be monetizing our money and making sure that we're keeping track of everything, like in a finance class. But applying it to TV and film was something I did as a let me teach myself. Let me learn the
Right.
ways. What are the programs that they're using, and applying what I'm learning in this school to what I would actually need to use. And I think it takes people to take those extra steps in order to transition. Because if I had just gone to school and just took my finance classes, I wouldn't necessarily know how to use the programs. And as a
Right.
coder and in tech, you get it. It isn't always about how you juggle the money. It's how you know how to put it into certain programs and manipulate it so that it works for everyone and the budget can get printed. So I'll say that. But when it comes to podcasting and budgets, I say keep it simple, but you're going to need to budget for potentially your editing and then all the AI programs to help you save time.
Yeah.
We're talking about Opus Clip. There's also Metricool. Like that's a great planning program, but Opus Clip has a planning program within it too, a calendar. And that's what I mean by
Yeah.
planning.
Okay.
So you can actually cut your clips in Opus and then put them on a calendar and have it post. You could do that in
That's
Metricool
awesome.
too. It's great, right?
That's great.
There's also
Yeah.
Riverside, but Riverside isn't doing the planning yet. But the Riverside, you can get all your clips AI cut, and then you can have them sent to your phone with a QR code, and you can do what you need to do for planning purposes. But those programs cost money.
Yeah.
And you would also need to have a budgetary line for your programs. You guys are using Restream, but there's also Riverside, Snapstream, all these different programs. You need to know how much they cost. Hosting, depending on your level of hosting. Substack now allows for hosting, so you can be on Substack and it's free, right? You don't have to pay. And it gets everywhere you need it to get. Plus, you have your newsletter attached to it. I have one of mine on Substack mainly because it saved me time, but it also saved me money from having to have a blog or a piece, another element added, like
Right.
another website to maintain.
Right.
So to think about those costs, like my website is Kajabi. Kajabi is pretty expensive, depending on what you're doing. I have a digital course, it's called the Visibility Program. To have that housed on my website, plus my podcast, plus everything, it costs a fortune. So you would need to have a budgetary line for that. Having a show can cost you a lot of money. It depends on how much you're willing to do without outsourcing, really.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
hope
think
that
I'm,
helps answer what you were asking.
oh yeah.
100%. Yeah. To me,
Pretty much in
100%.
line with what we do with this podcast is something that we also found is you have to have a budget for marketing. Like you
Yes,
need to,
yes.
Yeah.
because if you're not spending with like YouTube or Instagram, your views are going to get stalled. And
You're in a flat line.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to get into now is the Facebook ads. So I haven't done those yet. And people kept telling me, no, you want to wait until like you feel really good on camera and you have like an ad plan. And I get it, but I kind of want to just like throw a clip up and see what
yeah, you
happens
should.
and test it out.
Yeah.
Like can't be that bad.
Because I thought the only way if you're gonna know something works is you do it and then you look at the feedback and say, oh, okay, this didn't work, so maybe I need to make this adjustment. Like kind of you mentioned earlier, you just have to get out there and do it because you get stuck where you're forever planning, looking for the perfect, you
Mhm,
know, just sequence of events and it never happens. You never advertise because
mhm.
I need to do this, this, and this, and you're missing out on growth. Even if you just get 5 subscribers, you still grew.
And there's a lot of programs out there too that you can pay to try and put yourself out there without hiring a publicist. Like I work with publicists, I'll say, hey, here's some really great talented people that you should talk to. maybe bring them in, or I'll say to a publicist like, hey, this guy is pretty good, you should check him out. But before you invest in that level, there are websites that you can buy and pitch yourself to the media, and that's a great way to market without overspending or on ads. It's called Quoted. That's one. Then Harrow, it's like help a reporter out. That's back. It was gone for a while. So you can pay these fees. They're very minimal. I don't even know if they charge for everyone. It may just be that the journalists pay to get the sources. But regardless, look into those types of programs, because you want to be able to put yourself out there in different spaces in media to help bring attention to your brand and attention to your podcast. There's also Podmatch. I just been testing them
Yeah.
out the last few weeks, and there's been a lot of interest in me as a guest. I think mainly because, it's a new fresh person in the Podmatch system, but it's cool to have those opportunities come to you without you having to push out Facebook ads or Twitter
Yeah,
ads, Instagram ads.
100%. 100%. Like for my music business, I teach
Mhm.
drums. I
Yeah.
run Instagram ads for that. And what I realized the other day was, okay, I had a short campaign, just a week long,
Mhm.
7 days. And they had recommended, they said, oh, people in your field
Oh, yeah.
should, right? You see when they do that, they said people in your field should be doing $15 a day. So I
Mhm.
said, okay, I guess I'll
I
listen to them
just did that
and
myself.
try it. And what I realized today is that I just ran another campaign for
Mm.
7 days for $5 a day. And it's almost doubled what the $80 budget for the other one, the
Mhm.
$15 a day. I ended up stopping it at some point because I'm like, there's something going on here. So it's, yeah,
Or
you
maybe you
gotta,
just did it right
I don't
that
know. Yeah,
time.
I think you gotta test out your content, and you
Mhm.
gotta use different platforms like you're saying. There's a lot of websites that can help us out.
Mhm.
All of that's great advice.
Yeah, and I think, whenever I'm posting on LinkedIn, I talk about how I'm testing things out, and people say, "I love how you test things." That's what a producer does. Like,
Yeah.
producers who are producing for people, producing for shows, like, what we do is we essentially test out to make sure that this person is going to, do their best on camera and say, "Hey, why don't you try this? Okay, that didn't really work. All right, let's try this." You're testing things either with an anchor, a reporter, or a talent who just wants to, build a social media following. If you don't test, you don't know. And I always tell people, you need to just be real. Be real. And when they are and just they push through all the chaos and the crap that they're, that's holding them back, and they show up authentically, they start to see a change. I had a client recently, she's been doing great. Her engagement numbers are through the roof. It's insane. And it's all because she started to listen to the advice I had and talk about the pillars. Like, who are you as a person and who are you talking to? Because
Yeah.
even as a television news show, you know who you're talking to, and you know who your audience potentially is, and you know what you need to talk about in that hour to get to the nuts and bolts of what they may be interested in knowing about. As individual brands, we need to be doing the same. And that's also part of my marketing degree was, who are you talking to? Who are you? And how are you going to approach those people? Identifying the platforms where they are, figuring out how you can relate to them there, and then trying it out, seeing where they engage most, and keep on going. It's the best way. Test, 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 and don't hold yourself back. Yeah.
That's a great point because just like football,
Mhm.
something that works in the first half, you might be having amazing success, and the other team adjusts. Then what you were doing just stops working. So if you don't have that mindset of constantly adjusting, trying
Mhm.
new stuff out, what you're doing it might work for a while, and then the scene changes, things change, the circumstances change, it
Yeah.
stops working. So what are you going to do then? So
Right.
just having that courage to try new things out and adjust is so
Yeah.
important in this game.
And that's really what it is. It's all about just being able to, and flexible enough to adjust, because it's changing every day. Every day it's something new. And I had these clients, recently, they're like, "I guess we never figured out YouTube." I'm like, I don't think anyone's really figured it out. It's like we can all say we know, but it's all about testing. It
And
is.
they're always changing algorithms.
Mhm.
Google's always changing their search algorithms. You never know what to expect. You kind of have to stay on top of all this stuff if you want to compete, that is.
Mhm. And it almost seems like everyone who does really well on YouTube is talking about how you do well on YouTube
Yeah.
or social media. Like if they're on Instagram and they're doing well, it's because
Yeah.
they're starting to talk about how to do well on Instagram. It's the same with Substack. So I kind of have this, I don't know, maybe it's my journalist. I'm very journalist in me where I'm like, oh, where's the evidence? Like, how do I know that
Yeah.
your method is actually going to work?
Yeah.
Because you're kind of just playing into the algorithm.
No, I've noticed that too. It's like here's the 10 tips, and then there's like 30 guys commenting on that post. It's like a kind of like a what is that? Like a group of people that's all supporting each other, and you
Mhm.
know,
Oh yeah, I've seen those too, where it's like a pod.
engagement pod. Yeah, that's what
Pod.
it's called.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like hacking the algorithm a little bit.
Yeah,
But
I've seen that too, where that's totally, I mean, shoot, 2028 or 2018, I had an engagement pod when I started on Instagram. Everyone's like, "Let's help each other grow," and you're messaging
right.
each other like, "I posted."
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But some people take that to a new level where it's a huge system.
Yeah.
I ran this 100,000 person group on Facebook. It was like 2019, and it was called influencers of Facebook influencers. And at first it was like some real people. Then it started to get into a lot of people just selling all the spam stuff. So I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, there were a lot of those pods, and then the pods turned into these huge systems. And it was amazing to see it evolve from like, let's help each other out and grow, and it become very much like automated, like these AI systems attached to Instagram or attached to another app that you had to go out of Instagram to get to. And there's crazy systems that people don't realize are out there that people use to help boost engagement.
What I personally found, just from my observation, is consistency, and you got to post regularly. Like for people, typically they're looking for something daily to bite into. So
Yeah.
that person that you see every day, you start becoming accustomed to them, and then okay, I naturally I see them, I just naturally start clicking. Like you're trained to trust them, and you just go to their content.
Mhm.
Whereas, if you're posting relatively infrequently, you have to have like a gimmick or a big guest, something that really pops out. So
Yeah.
it's either one of the two that I've personally seen.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
about yourself? Like what have you observed from people who seem to kind of be blowing up and maintain their success? They're not like a one hit wonder.
Yeah, I mean, those that have blown up, and I think right now we're seeing it, your count does not mean anything
Yeah.
because so many
Yeah.
people paid for those count numbers, right? And when you look at their accounts and you're like, wait, you only had like 10 people like your post. Why do you have 60,000 followers? I think
600,000
it,
followers,
I
two
think
likes.
it's starting to have like this huge negative impact, and it's almost better to just be real, be yourself, be consistent, like you're saying, engage with the right people, connect with the right voice, the right people, and just be authentic and you. I tell people, as I mentioned, the pillars. It's like you want to think of what are the four things that you can consistently show up on camera and deliver, right? So if you have a podcast, that's one thing. And then your second might be, well, I'm also a drummer, right? So I'm going to show up as a drummer. I'm a podcaster. I'm a drummer. And then you may be like, you know what? I really love hiking. Okay, well,
I do.
if you're going to add hiking, right? You're now looking through hiking. And every time you post about hiking, it's like, I work in tech, I have a podcast, and I'm a drummer. And so hiking is my way to reframe, my way to recharge from all that. You're not posting about, oh, I went on a hike. You
Right.
need to think about the crafting behind it and have it all tied together. It's like, my break from podcasting is I was drumming this song and it made me think of, hiking, or, you're always trying to weave everything together, like
Yeah.
podcasting, hiking. And if you do that well, it can really help you grow and build the right audience, because now you're essentially speaking to another guy or girl who is just like you, and they're the ones that are going to come and want to engage and be a part of your journey online.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
had this talk that I gave recently, and it was all about, being real. And you want to think of it as you're reframing, right? Like, who are you? What do you want to do? What do you want people to ask or know you for, right? And then you're embracing, editing out all your imperfections isn't going to work. So you just want to embrace your flaws and go with it. If you're going through a weight loss journey, share. If you're dealing with a breakup, embrace it, deal with it, and share about it. Maybe in your stories, maybe it's not your post, but by reframing like who you are, as we discussed, like with those pillars, embracing all your flaws and sharing authentically, you'll start to be aligned with who you are as a person. And then that person is going to start helping attract people. And you can really just go live with who you are and feel good and make other people feel good, because it's all about emotions.
yeah.
Your podcasts, your YouTube channels, your social media, it's all about connecting and building emotions, emotional relationships. And I don't think many people realize that, but that's very key to marketing and business. Yeah.
Great advice. Yeah. Really good advice.
This is something that me and Brian we've talked about in this modern digital era. People are not going outside, so they still have
Mhm.
the desire to connect with people.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that outside, they're looking for that similar experience of like hanging around the dinner room table with friends. They're looking for that online. So
Yeah, they are.
you know,
And, so I've been studying audio and video space for a while now. And there was this huge push for, being a solo podcaster. And you'll see, like, if you look at the top podcasts, yeah, there's a host, there's a main guy. But what really resonates, and if you look at YouTube podcasts, you'll see it, like the chat, the
yeah,
around the table conversation podcast YouTube shows that are just shooting the shit and talking about what's happening in the world and the news. Those are doing really well. And I think it is to the point that you're making, where people want to feel a part of it. They want to feel like they're in the room with the host, with the anchor, with whoever it is. And if television news, like cable in general, started to take away those news anchor desks and made most shows more like the morning show programming, or yeah, the morning show programming throughout the day, I feel like you would see more people connect with the cable news outlets right now instead of pull away. Cable is going to go on streaming platforms. People can connect with it wherever. But I think they need to take a different approach, maybe not wear the suits, because that's another thing I'm seeing. Those that were showing up, say, I think it was BTC. Yeah. Like there's other YouTube podcasters in the news space. They were showing up a lot in ties and jackets and suits. Like, I'm a news anchor. You need to trust
Okay.
me. They're pulling
Right.
back, and you'll see that they're wearing more like sweaters and t-shirts, and they'll even just look like they're about to go surfing. Why? Because they're trying to connect with those that they want to be listening. And that's important. Your visuals and how you show up help you become on camera ready. And what I do is I help people figure out, like, who are you? Who are you talking to? And how do you need to show up to attract that person to what you do? Um, like in TV, if we had a doctor on, the guest booker would be like, "Oh, is he going to look like a doctor? Like on TV, wear a jacket?" Because even the audience is hoping that they're going to have a white jacket on, a white coat. It's all about those visuals in this space as well. Yeah.
it just made me think like um, when people typically tune into entertainment to decompress. So once they get off of work, they don't want to feel like they're going back to the job. So you got this
Yeah.
guy with a suit on. They don't want to hang out with him. They want to hang out with the guy with his hat on backwards and looks like he's in his room playing a video game.
Yeah, they want to hang out with someone who they would be with in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you have to look at it. Right now, like with my YouTube podcast, it's on camera ready. So I feel like I can't show up not wearing makeup and my brand colors. And that's why I started to test out Think Like a Producer as a soloist podcast where I'm just showing up. Because on that, I'm like, you know what? I should show up as the producer. The producer is wearing glasses. She's not wearing makeup and she doesn't, look to the nines every time she's on camera. So I feel like I can be more myself in that format. And I'm trying to pull back on all my traditional media beliefs on how to show up on camera, because I myself was even like, oh, well, I should be wearing full jewelry and a suit all the time, like whenever I'm on camera. And yes,
Right.
you want to be taken professionally and to be taken seriously and to have like, a look and to be known for something, right? But if it's not who you are and it's not comfortable, it will start to stop you from doing it. You're going to say, well, if I have to get dressed up, I'm not showing up on camera today. If I have to wear a ton of makeup, I'm not going to do my social media video today.
Right.
Because now you're basically putting yourself in a position where you have to be someone you're really not on a consistent basis. And that's hard to do. It just
Yeah,
it
what
is.
what you're saying reminds me of something that the artist, singer Lauren Hill said a while back about being famous. She
Mm.
said, before she was famous, she could just go out to a 7-Eleven, get a Slurpee, get a candy bar, whatever, and she could have sweatpants on, she could be dressed down. She said now after becoming famous, she has to kind of get all dolled up, makeup, etc., before she leaves the door, before she goes out the door, because she has people looking at her
Mhm.
everywhere. Because Lauren Hill is very famous,
Yeah,
so
they'll take your picture. Do you wanna
that's
look like
it.
trash in that photo?
Yeah, it's another good example. So it's interesting, right?
Yeah, it's hard, and, it again goes back to why I think TikTok is a platform that more people are gravitating toward as, like, my age, right? So I'm over 40, and I feel like you're seeing more people in that age range gravitate because they can be themselves. They don't have to be polished. I feel like Instagram has taken on this whole persona of you need to have crafted content, look your part, be on point. TikTok, you don't. It's like, well, okay, I could just show up and share my ideas and, roll out of bed and people love it more so than if you're dressed up. Where
Mhm.
LinkedIn, YouTube, you do want to have some effort put in before you start showing up because other people there are putting effort on. So you want to think about your audience, how you can show up where you're going and realize where you want to focus based on what you can actually do on a regular basis because I tried it and it's hard to be completely on camera ready all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not me.
No, that's a great point. Whatever you could do consistently, that's what you should do with your podcast. Because if you're not consistent, you're not going to get any results. Like
Mhm.
people
Yeah.
have to see you showing up day after day before they trust you and invest their time into you. That's what I found.
Yeah. And I actually had someone say to me, I like it better when you don't show up in makeup. And I was like, why? Like, I look like garbage. She's like, yeah, but it makes it real.
Yeah. And in this
There's something
digital
to say
age,
about
that's
that.
what people are really looking for. We got
Mhm,
AI making this perfect human, perfect AI avatar. You
mhm.
got, somebody has this whole makeup team, and people they can't relate to that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm AI. This isn't really what I look like. It's a filter.
I mean, that's the problem right now is
It
that
is. It is a
you
problem.
go on Instagram, you go on TikTok, you're watching something, and then in the comments you say, "Oh, this is AI. This is AI." So then you're constantly thinking every single video that
Every
pops up,
video.
is this real? Is
Yeah.
this
Guys,
AI? What makes it AI if it is AI?
I saw
These
this
type of
video.
questions come up,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
just funny.
Brian, I saw this video. It was a bald eagle holding a frozen baby, and he's
Wow.
like this, and he puts his little claws like against a window, and this woman opens the window, and he throws the baby into her hands, and then she's warming it with a blow dryer, and it was AI. And I shared that with my kids. I was like, guys, oh my gosh, this frozen eagle baby, and like this person rescued it. And then I start looking at it, I'm like, okay, wait, wow, I think that is not real.
Not real. Yeah, yeah.
It's so scary. And I think, it's going to really push more and more people to require sourcing on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope, right? In my program, the visibility program, I have this section where it's like, I need you to think like a journalist, like the who, what, where, when, and why. If you're going to show up on camera, you need to know all that, because you don't want to just be spewing misinformation online and then no one's going to take you seriously. How are you going to build trust if you're sitting on, on social media or on YouTube repeating things that aren't true?
Right. Yeah. Before we get out of here, tell us about that visibility program. Where can people find it at? What is it about? How can they join it?
Yeah, it's on my website, oncamready.com. And the visibility program is new. It just came out. It's digital course. And then I'm going to add on group coaching, but it helps people think about, who am I as a person? Who am I talking to? How can I show up consistently? Can I show up? And it's mainly because I felt like I was doing that myself and I wanted to help others. And I came up with these AI prompts to help people write their scripts for 30 days and come up with B-roll ideas so they could shoot content. And then I show them like the basics on how to use CapCut and how to show up and create talk to camera videos that are just a little bit more visual, with headlines and green screens. Because some people still, don't know how to create those.
Right.
And I say it like that, but it's mainly because I'm coming from TV news that I'm always like, you don't know how to do this, but they don't. And those basic little simple editing tips can really enhance your videos so much. And I just want people to know how to do it so they can level up, especially if they want the press to book them. If you're someone who is an author or a podcast host and you're only posting about your food or where you're going, when the producers look at your page, they're going to say, well, wait a second here. Where's the thought leadership? Where's the person that they're pitching? Is that person even out there? Is there even any real engagement behind it? Does anyone even agree with this person? They want to
Right.
see that they have a community, agreement, engagement, creative ideas, that they're leaning into the media, maybe showing up when it matters to their niche. Oh, this new detail just happened in coding and got to tell you about this new technology you all are going to need to learn. Sharing about that makes you more of an authority within your industry. And that is what people are expecting, at least in my industry, we're expecting to see when we come to someone's page who wants to be in the media. So if you make those little adjustments, you'll just hear more yeses than you'll hear nos, is my hope. And that's what the program's all about. But it all happened, guys, because so many people listening may be dealing with this. So I just want to make sure I mentioned it before we wrap, is like, job loss is huge right now. So many people
Yep.
are losing their jobs or have lost their jobs. And in 2022, when I left CNN, I didn't leave because I was like, I'm leaving. My show was canceled, and there was a decision to be made. Either I'm staying and maybe going to another show, or I'm leaving. And when they give you that option of like, here you go, here you get severance, it's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to take that, because I just graduated from Harvard right before this happened. And it was like, I'm going to try something new. And thankfully, because I just accepted it, I was able to get a job at BET right away.
Wow.
And that allowed me the freedom, because it was contract, to podcast and try new things and have this huge like media revolution of my own, where I'm like on Substack and creating content and testing. I could never have done that if I was still at CNN. I couldn't. So it's
Yeah.
like God essentially handed me an opportunity
Yeah.
with that layoff, but you have to see it. And the way I've been describing it to people is like, after CNN, I went to BET and I was creating. But when BET ended, that's when I finally mourned the loss of my job at CNN. Like, I didn't have the loss mourning where some people have that immediately and they're like, oh, I lost my job. Like, I didn't have that until then because I had a double spine surgery that was unexpected. And it was like, okay, lost my favorite job in the world, CNN. I'm not at BET anymore. I'm having double spine surgeries. I'm in the worst pain of my life and I don't know where I'm going. I dipped to black. And I say that because in television, in podcasting, in broadcasting, if you dip to black, it's like you're on air and then suddenly you're not. And everyone's like, what just happened? Why am I
Right.
seeing black on screen?
Right.
A guest goes down or the signal goes down. And in that moment of darkness, us as hosts, as producers, as people in the control room, it's always, what do we do next? And in that moment of panic, you finally see clearly. And so I think that in my time after CNN, I was looking for jobs. I was after BET, I was looking for jobs, trying to look for jobs. And when I finally hit, I guess, that rock bottom, like my dip to black is what I call it, I finally saw clearly. It was like in a control room, when things go wrong, my first question is, what do I have right now? What can I put on air immediately? And how can I get us to a break smoothly? And if
Right.
you are in your own situation where you lost your job or you're having like a horrible experience happen and you don't know what to do, it's sometimes best to just see like, what do I have? And how can I hold on to that and make something of it? And I feel like it was in that moment that it all just started to become so clear. I was like, I need to do my own thing right now and build a business and navigate new media and find ways to help others do the same because there's so much going on
Yeah.
that they need to think like producers. So I hope that that little story and that reference to dipping to black helps people because truly, if you are feeling like you have no idea where to go, just start thinking about what you have right now and what you can go live with is just to get you to that next moment, that next break. And then just it'll start to be clear. Like when I did that, I was like, okay, wow, it's all
Right.
starting to come together.
Clearing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's where I'm at.
amazing. So,
Awesome.
yeah, we're getting close to the top of the hour. I mean, that could serve as a closing thought, but did you have any other closing thoughts you want to leave with our audience before we get out of here? And just to reiterate, where can they find you at again?
Yeah, I would just say, YouTube right now is the place to be. I'm on my way to Podfest as of this conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing, what I can pick up from that. YouTube is definitely where to be. And if you want to start showing up strategically on camera and you don't know how to put your thought leadership into visual content, long form or short form, you want to check out oncamready.com. That's where I have the visibility program. I also am still producing. So people do hire me, higher end clients will hire me to do YouTube videos or create their social media and manage it or coach them before a media conversation. But I'm also doing events where I bring in TV crews that are out of work, people who have basically decided, okay, I can't be in film or I'm not going to be in TV news anymore. And they're thinking, okay, I want to be in marketing and advertising and social media. So I'll try to tap them and cover conferences or cover, a brand workshop and help you get the content you need to continue building your brand online. So I'm trying to just diversify, but also stay within my niche of production. And On Cam Ready explains a little bit about that and also what I've been up to. So On Cam Ready Media at the candle is at On Cam Ready. On YouTube is where I'm putting tons of free resources to help people.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, Jamie. It's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and we
Thank
love to have you
you.
back sometime.
For
Yeah, it'd be
sure.
fun.
For sure. Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. I'm really glad we all connected and have a good start to the new year.